Assalamu alaikum and welcome to another show of Mums at Work. My name is Rawa.
And my name is Raghad, and today we'll be talking about mum guilt. What does mum guilt mean? Do you have mum guilt when you go to work?
Major mum guilt.
Do you?
Yes, till this day. But I think for me, it was more at the beginning of when I went back into work because, you know, like I mentioned in a previous show, I got that 3 o'clock itch that somebody else was picking up my kids. And then when I went to pick them up, you know, I had that major mum guilt that they were not fed if I picked them up and they were starving, which they usually were. You know, and then by the time I get home and it's 7 o'clock and there's only an hour to feed them, change them, homework, all of that stuff. So sometimes it would just be, you know, put freezer food in the oven. So for me, I had that mum guilt of were they being nutritiously fed during that time? You know, are they okay after school? Because sometimes you'll go pick up your kids from school and they've had a bad day, and the first thing they want to do is see their mum. So you know, you have that mum guilt that what if they needed me this day and I'm not there for them? You know, it just it's constant. I don't think for me it ever went. I think I learnt to live with it at work during those times, and they knew they could always call me. Which I always say to them, I said, you know, in the olden days, we didn't even have a phone. At least now you can ask somebody can I call my mum, and you can call me and I can speak to you. But yeah, definitely. I don't think it ever goes away. Do you think it goes away?
It doesn't go away. The guilt itself, the feeling guilty, because that's a negative thought.
Yes, it is.
It does go away because you can flip the switch. Change the negative thought into a positive thought. Yes, the what you've said, the obstacles, they're not going to go away. Yes, they're going to have bad days sometimes. Yes, you're not going to be able to pick them up from school, but you can find ways around it. For example, you said phones. So as soon as they come back from school, you can have a little conversation with them, make it really meaningful. Tell them what we're going to make for dinner together later on. What do you want? What are you feeling today? Or even the night before, you can discuss. Okay, today I'm going to take out the food to prepare for tomorrow. What do you want? And so you can just flip the switch because the obstacles will not go away.
That is 100% true.
And even the fact that you've come back from work and they're feeling hungry, perhaps once a week, take a little shop to your childcare provider, like a haul, or what sometimes they call it, like, you know, fruits and vegetables and snacks, so that she can give it to them while they are in her house. Just things like that. So you need to spend, I'm not saying you personally, but as mums, we need to spend less energy on negative thoughts and put that energy into being innovative. Put that energy into creating a happy, fun, joyful home. And like I said, I did say that before, but it's so important. Flip that switch. That negative, you switch it on into positive. Whatever it is, there's always a solution for every problem. For every obstacle, there is a tunnel. So that's what that's the thing. But yeah, guilt is it's there. It's big.
Yeah, this is the thing. You can like you said, you can flip the switch and make things positive, and it will make you feel better inside that they've got everything they need and everything's fine. But like you said, it's an emotion, and the guilt is still there, and I don't think it ever dies down completely. And that's okay, right? It's okay to feel guilty. It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. But the other thing is we have to remember is that we have to stop allowing ourselves to be a victim of our circumstance. Okay, if we're not happy where we are, if it doesn't work for us, move. Okay, maybe someone's work hours are causing them anxiety and mum guilt. Change that. Change the job if you can. Obviously, some people are, really reliable on the family. All the family is relying on that person to be the breadwinner. But if it's possible, change the role, change the hours, change where you're working, change something. But don't stop where you are and allow yourself to become a victim. Because you know what? When you allow yourself to become a victim, it will eat you up. And when you don't take responsibility for your situation, you're not going to change it. Because when you don't feel responsible for something, you don't feel that you're responsible to do something about it. So that the whole victim thing, it's not someone else's fault. It's only you. You're the only one who can change your circumstances. So again, put that energy into thinking of new strategies on how to make it work for your family.
So definitely, I agree with that. And I think one thing that will help you as well is to have a really open and honest kind of line of communication with your line manager. I think that's really important because for me personally, I was very lucky. I had a line manager that had kids, so he understood if I ever got a call at, midday because my kid wasn't feeling well. I have to say to him, I'm really sorry, I have to go. He's like, run, He understood kids. He understood that kids came first.
But that comes from your self-confidence as well, from you having the confidence to have that chat with him.
Yeah.
Because a lot of mums are too scared or worried to have that conversation with their managers because they're worried that they might seem that they're not good enough or that they're less, they're less important at work because they have a family.
That's true, but I think generally now, I feel like attitudes have changed in society. I feel like people have become a lot more accepting that, there are a lot of families out there, there are a lot of, working mums. And even within organisations, you'll see that there's a lot of, like, for example, networks, return to mums network, return to work, networks, for the people that have gone on maternity leave, for the people that have been out of a career break for so long and then come back in, people like me. So I think generally attitudes are shifting within organisations, and it makes it easier to have that conversation with your line manager and to say, can I work 1 day a week from home, or can I work 9 to 3 and then make up the rest of the time at home because I want to be able to pick up my kids. I think line managers have become a lot more understanding in that respect.
Well, that's a good thing because a lot of managers themselves nowadays are mothers. So now it's just, it's more acceptable to be a mum and working. And alhamdulillah, it just makes that a little bit easier for us working mothers.
Yes, definitely. And I think even, the pandemic and COVID and having to work from home, I think it's put a lot of, things in perspective, even within a working environment. I think it's become a lot more socially acceptable to, work from home and ask. That's the thing, to have the confidence to ask your line manager, can I work from home?
Because they saw that does actually work.
That it works. Exactly.
It does work. People are able
thanks
to
to
work.
technology.
Thanks to technology and thanks to COVID.
And actually, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
You'll find that you might be a lot more productive, but that's another show. We'll talk about that.
Inshallah. And how about the fact that, does it make you a stronger woman to say no at work, or to just say no to things generally that make you unhappy, or things that you cannot do, or you can do, but they will kind of affect other things at home? Do you think that makes us a stronger woman to say no? Because I've read a book once about the art of saying no, and how important it is for us to learn to say no to things that don't benefit us, or to things that don't that make us grow as a person, or things that will affect us negatively.
Definitely. I think initially, if you're someone at work who wants to prove yourself, like I was when I, having such a long career break, I needed to prove myself. So for example, when at work they had socials and stuff like that, I couldn't say no. I wanted to say no because I wanted to go back to my kids. I didn't want, going to a social meant I'll miss their bedtime. I won't even see them that day. So definitely mom guilt kicks in, but definitely, at the same time, like you said, it's going to work is for yourself. So sometimes actually maybe I don't want to say no. Maybe sometimes I ended up saying I want to go to these things. Yeah. But no, like definitely, Raghad, over time, you do develop that confidence. Say, no, I'm really sorry. I need to go back to my kids today. You don't even need to say I need to go back to my kids today.
I can't do that.
No, I just can't do it. End of. You know,
and it doesn't make you less of a person.
We always feel like we have to justify it with an excuse. I'm really sorry, my son's got football practice, I'm really sorry. Like, you don't need to give the excuse. This is the thing. So you just have the confidence to say, no, I'm really sorry.
I cannot do that.
I'll try and come next time, or I'll try and do it next time.
That's what makes a strong woman. We don't realise that actually this is what makes us, people actually know their boundaries.
Yes.
Because people like to push on. They
like to push you.
They like to push you and push you and push you, so they can know when to stop. So by you saying no, it's giving them that boundary. Actually, after 6 o'clock, you stop.
Yeah.
Actually, on weekends, I'm not available.
Yes.
And that makes you stronger. It doesn't make you weaker. It doesn't make you less of a good employee or anything. It just means that you want to have your inner peace. You don't want any of the outside or outside of the home environment to come into your home. You have these two different separate lives. When you're at work, you have your work and you do the best you can. Yeah. And then when you're at home, you want to fully be present there, because those limited hours that we have with our children are so precious, because we want to make the most of it. We want to have quality time with our children, because what I've heard a lot of mums say is that some stay-at-home mums are with their children all the time, but actually not all of it is quality time. Whereas some working mums, and I'm not going to generalize, I'm just seeing from research and things like that, some working mums, even though they have that 1, 2 or 3 hours with their children, they try to make that as quality as possible, trying to completely just full on focus on the children, what they have to say, what they want to do, and try to make the most of that little time they have.
Yes,
so it's really important not to bring the outside world into that precious time.
Yeah.
And a lot of mums have guilt because they want to build beautiful memories with their children. And I read once a really beautiful quote that said,
feel like you're missing out.
Yeah. a really beautiful quote that said, if you want to create memories, beautiful memories with the children, spend more time doing things with them and less time doing things for them. And that's hit me. That really hit me because, you know, as a working mum and you have mum guilt, I'm like, I don't have to just constantly be doing things for them. That little time that I have with them, we'll do good, you know, things together and enjoy it. And that's what matters.
Yeah, that's 100% true. And I think as well, like as a working mum, being at work and coupled with the mum guilt, you do feel like at work I have to prove myself. You prove yourself as a working mum, you prove yourself as a female at work as you're competing against the males. You prove yourself, you know, as someone from an ethnic background. And for me personally, I feel like, yeah, even my appearance, I have to prove myself that I'm just as good as everyone else. So actually,
so much to prove, don't we?
So much to prove, and it pushes us. And actually, I feel like we're one of the hardest working people because we've got all these obstacles, and we're just trying to knock down these barriers and prove to people that, you know, yes, I have kids. Yes, I wear the hijab. Yes, I'm a Muslim. Yes, I'm a woman. But I can do it all and more.
But don't you think that all this that you're doing, all this pushing and all this, you know, that all this adrenaline that you're going through kind of thing every day, don't you think that gives you life? That kind of, you know, that just gives you more of, you know, it just makes you feel like a powerful woman. Do you feel that? Or
I do feel that.
Yeah.
I do feel that, definitely.
And that's why the statistics have shown that 60% of working mums are happier than staying at home because of all this stimulation that's going on around them. You have so much to think about, so much going on, that you're not sitting there dwelling on the little things anymore. That's amazing.
And naturally your confidence increases, doesn't it?
Of course.
And that actually brings us on nicely to our good friend Isra is going to talk to us a bit about confidence in the workplace.
Now, when we talk about confidence, one of the first things I'd like to do is actually to differentiate between two things, and that's confidence and self-esteem. Self-esteem obviously impacts confidence, but it's more related to how you feel about yourself, your self-worth. Whereas confidence is much more action-orientated. It's about really willing to step outside of your comfort zone and do things that are not necessarily comfortable for you. And this is an important distinction to make, because obviously self-esteem has an impact on confidence, but you can start to work on confidence by itself as well. So when we talk about action, it's about really building up the experience. Once you build up an experience of doing something repeatedly, you build up your competence in that thing. And when you build up competence, that's when you start to feel confident in what you want to do. So that's the same thing, whether it's at work or it's at home. The more you step outside your comfort zone, the more you put yourself in situations that you've not been in before, or ask for things that you wouldn't usually ask for, that's when you become more confident and comfortable to do it. Obviously when we look at confidence, sometimes I see a lot of clients coming to me saying that I don't feel confident to speak to my boss, I don't feel confident to do certain things. But actually what I say to them is that you need to take the action for the confidence to then come in to play. So basically it's about really reversing that cycle and looking at it as the feeling coming after the action rather than before. The other thing I would say, the second thing, is to really start to become more clear on your own value system. Because when we talk about confidence, sometimes people see certain people in their life, their colleagues, their friends or family, and they think, oh, this is what confidence looks like, this is how I want to be. But actually what I work with clients, I like to think about confidence on what it means to them on a more personal level, on what it means to them on an authentic level, and really working from that base. And sometimes it is about modeling other people, but at the same time, after modeling, it's about really coming into your own true values, your own true self, and doing something that feels right for you. And it's not basically about being somebody else that you're not. The third thing I would say that really helps to build up your confidence, whether it's at work or again at home, is really to write down 20 to 30 things at the start of things that you have accomplished. So when we look at it in the work environment, look at 20 to 30 things that you've accomplished over your lifetime, even if you're new to work, that will help you in building up confidence in a particular area. So when we look at accomplishments, sometimes people think, oh, I need to have done something really big to write that down. But actually, I want you to turn your attention to the small things that maybe we overlook, the small things that you do on a day-to-day basis that are accomplishments, because that's what really matters. Sometimes it's not the big events, but rather the small events that you do on a daily basis, that you do consistently, that has the greatest impact on you. The next thing I would say, which is really important, and that's to surround yourself with people that uplift you and that build your confidence up as well. So people that give you energy, that help you to do things, that push you outside your comfort zone. Rather than people who are usually looking at the worst in every situation, that have fear, that induce fear in you. So look at how much time you're spending with the people that are, I would call, energy restorers rather than energy depleters. So really look at those and try to surround yourself with more of those people that uplift you. The next important point is really to work on developing that growth mindset. And the growth mindset, sometimes what's really important about it is really to start identifying yourself as a learner rather than being a perfectionist, which really holds confidence and really sets you back. Try to say to yourself, I am a learner in my life. So then whatever you do, whatever situation you put yourself in, it's all about really learning from that experience. And there's a really important presupposition in NLP that says there's no such thing as failure, only feedback. And if we take that on in our own life, we really start to seek any opportunity that helps us grow and learn and develop. The other thing I would say in relation to probably more of the self-esteem aspect, to learn to say no, to value saying no to certain things that are of least value to you in your own value system, or that don't help enhance you in any way. So learning to say no is really important. And then after that, I would say the next thing to really help to improve your self-esteem and your confidence is to not work away and move away from the habit of self-ridiculing, and that means setting yourself low, blaming yourself, not thinking that you've done a good enough job. Really work away from that and start to praise yourself. And so then you start to really celebrate any win that you have and really take it back to your own doing. So even if they're small actions, but really celebrate those. That really will help you to build your confidence to do even more.
Rawa, how do you portray yourself at work or your confidence at work?
I think for me, number one, it starts with how presentable I look. Because I already wear the hijab, I don't want them to think that, I'm not like them.
We're already being judged.
Already being judged. Exactly. So I make sure that I'm always well dressed, modestly but well dressed. I walk in, say hello to everyone. I don't ignore people because I don't want them to hold something against me as well for doing that. Make sure that I excel in what I do. Yeah, and another thing I find is just to be an open person at work. Don't be siloed, don't be in your own bubble. Reach out to people, speak to people. Be, that opens your confidence up. That lets them see you in a different light as well.
But how do you do that? Because sometimes you're just a shy person.
Yes, that's true, but
I can come across as shy. I would find it very difficult to ask people questions. Like, I want to learn from you.
So I think for me, Raghad, it starts with the way I present myself. I make sure that I'm always well dressed, and I make sure, that because naturally you walk into an office, what's the first thing people are going to do? They're going to see how you
analyze you.
Yeah, they're going to see how you look, how you're presented. Yeah. And naturally, wearing the right things at work, like a suit, like trousers and shirt, that will definitely straight away add confidence for myself.
Okay.
Another thing I do is I try not to shy away from people. So, walk in and say hello, say good morning, say what you need to say. Let them know that you're in the room, that there's a presence there.
Yeah.
Don't, because initially what I used be present, show people you're there. Yeah, definitely. Let them know you're there. Because, a lot of people will just walk in, they go straight to their desk, they'll sit down and start typing away. And then it's like lunchtime and you're like, oh, when did you come in? But when they know you're there and you've said hello and you're happy, they start to be like, oh, she looks nice, and wonder why she's happy, and it's just, increases your confidence. And then naturally, when you have confidence, it just has a knock-on effect on everything else. So it has a knock-on effect on how productive you are at work. I start excelling at work, for example. I start, people want to go out for a coffee break with you, that sort of thing. Just be open and transparent with people. Definitely, 100%. That increases your confidence.
And in turn, happiness leads to excelling at work or excelling at what you do. Because if you're unhappy at work, then you can't really do that. You can't do much because you feel like you're weighed down.
Definitely smile and laugh a lot.
Yeah, don't feel like you're weighed down with all the all the issues or all that's going on inside you. Because they say that a ship only sinks because of the water getting inside it, not because of the water around it. So, you know, if you're confident enough and, you know, you're surrounded by positivity, then you can be a better mom and excel at work as well. But, you know, if you have those, you know, kind of gaps in your confidence, gaps within yourself, then you're going to let all the negativity inside, and that's going to ultimately affect you. Sorry?
And you'll sink.
And you'll sink, exactly, yeah. So going back to mum guilt, we was just saying about spending time with the children and not having enough, not having the dinner prepped, or, you know, freezer food and things like that. Evidence show that children build better self-esteem when they are given tasks or even left to their own devices, to a certain extent, of course, with, you know, being supervised with the correct supervision, with the correct surroundings. Actually, it increases their self-esteem, and actually it makes them more positive children. It makes them more helpful children and more confident children. So actually, you know, we should really try our best to think about the positives that are coming out from spending less time with them and not wrapping them up in cotton wool so much.
I 100% agree with you, and I think one of the biggest mum guilts for me was the fact that the house that I live in is no longer 100% clean all the time. That was one thing that I struggled to deal with. But like you said, you know, let's give our kids chores, you know, to help. You know, it can't just all be on us anymore. And actually, by doing that, I've made them a bit more independent. I've made them a lot more aware. So now when they see something that's, you know, out of place or messy or rubbish is on the floor, they'll do their bit. They'll realize it's there. Whereas before, mum did everything. You know, so it's okay. They won't even notice that there's like a wrapper on the floor, for example, because they've never known to notice it, if that makes sense.
Because they don't even see it properly, because you just pick it up straight away.
You just pick it up straight away.
And I think that when times get tough, when times get hard, I always have this motto in life where speak to Allah more than you speak to others, more than you speak to yourself. So when it gets too much, and even the guilt gets too much and gets to you, speak to Allah and ask Him to guide you. Ask Him to help you and, you know, to make, you know, help you find a way.
Definitely.
And, you know, the power of dua is just amazing, even with the house. Like, when you kind of, for me personally, when a house is a bit of a big mess and I don't know where to start, I just start with dua. And subhanAllah, that gives you that positive energy.
Yeah.
When you know that Allah has your back, it's like you have your best friend next to you.
Yeah.
Everything gets done quicker and, you know, easier. And even...
and actually, He gives you the signs, Raghad. So actually, for me personally, I always look out for the signs from God. You know, I always say to Him, am I doing the right thing? Show me a sign.
Yeah.
So if you're unhappy, if the guilt is too much and you are unhappy at work, leave it. It means it's not right for you, you know? Or either work at making it work or just leave it and find something else. Doesn't mean you're not equipped for work at all. It just means maybe you're in the wrong role, you know?
Yeah.
Like you said, like, you know, it's okay to maybe change your role or you know, find a different workplace, just something that works for you,
because ultimately
you
your
might
happiness,
not be because you might not be able to go back.
You've got new priorities. You have, everything is changed. Even you as a human, even, you know, to a certain extent, the way you look, the you know, your eye contact, everything changes about you. So I don't know why we feel that we need to go back to our old life. You know, you have a new life, and it's, inshallah, it can be a better life.
Unlike that, that He's planned the right thing for you.
And the power of dua, by the way, is just amazing, because it shifts your thoughts from the problem, and it kind of puts them on on the thing that can solve every problem. So I always say that dua, whenever you're feeling really down and you're struggling and the guilt is just getting to you, that, you know, just pick up the problem and give it to Allah and see how He will solve it. Only the other day I had a thing where something to do with the kids, and it was one of my children's birthday and I had to be somewhere, and then I just said I just made it out of my heart. You know, I just said, Allah, Ya Rabbi, what am I going to do? Because I have this commitment at work and it's my child's birthday. And literally within minutes, that thing that had to be done was cancelled and changed.
Amazing.
So, and I said, subhanallah, when you have the right niyyah, because my niyyah was not for myself, it wasn't a selfish niyyah, it was a niyyah that I wanted to do well and I didn't want to let anyone down, and also it was my child's birthday, I didn't want to let him down. And Allah will help you, but you just have to have that trust there.
Yes, definitely. So that's a great example. That's perfect. That's because we do forget, we get so bogged up with our emotions. So guilt is a horrible emotion to have, and we get so bogged down with it sometimes that we forget to just sit down, and so that we just sit down and
talk to Allah.
Just
instead of blaming yourself.
Yeah,
I'm a terrible mum, I'm doing the wrong job, you know, my kids are too much, everything's too much. No, have a conversation with Allah. He's listening to you.
100%.
He's there.
Yeah.
And he is your best friend.
He is.
Yeah.
So ultimately, guilt is the opposite of inner peace. So what do you do to attain that inner peace for yourself?
Do whatever it takes. Whatever it takes to get that inner peace. Whether it means saying no to certain commitments, maybe socializing a little bit less. You know, sometimes you do have to make that sacrifice.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it. It's not taking away from your happiness or anything, but you'll want to find that inner peace. So do whatever. Whether it means, you know, if you're invited to someone's birthday or something, and you know you'd rather spend time with your family because you've been at work during that day, or because you know that you have an early start the next day and you have the preps to do. You want to make sure that everyone's uniforms are ready. The dinner's going to be ready for the next day, because prepping is very important. We'll touch upon that inshallah on another day. But you know, if that will give you inner peace, having that time to make sure everything is right, to make sure you spend that extra time with your family, there's nothing wrong with it. You're not taking anything away from yourself. Maybe you're not going to have that little bit of fun in that party or birthday that you're going to miss out on. But you know, fun and inner peace are two separate things.
And it's like you said earlier, it's saying no. So it's not just saying no to your colleagues or your work people, it's saying no to your friends, saying no to your family, you know. So even if you've come home from work and you're tired, you just want to be with the kids, but you had planned an outing with your friends from a month ago, for example. It's okay to say no. I mean, if they're your friends, they'll understand, you know. So, but sometimes you have even that guilt of, I want to be with my kids because I'm really tired and I don't want to go out. I just want to see my kids today. I'm not in a social mood. But you kind of feel guilty to say no to your friends, especially if it's something that's been pre-planned. So yeah, definitely, I think. But that can make those sacrifices for yourself.
Pressure. These things can put extra pressure on you, because it will affect your work the next day. It will affect, like I said, you know, if you're not prepped for the next day, it will affect everything. So it's like kind of a dominoes effect.
It does.
And you just have to put yourself and your well-being first, because as a mum, that's really important. If you fall apart one day, subhanAllah, see the whole house has fallen apart. Yeah. And so you just really need to keep, you know, on top of things all the time, and keep your inner peace and keep your mental health intact. Yeah. And when I say mental health, I don't just mean like, you know, something major. Just the fact that your thoughts are collected, you know, you're collected, you're calm. That is really important, because like I mentioned, almost 50% of working mums have anxiety, which they have, you know, suffered from that in silence, that had led to depression. So the best way of dealing with anxiety is dealing with the problem, because anxiety is when you have a problem that's in your mind, whether it's the problem is guilt, whether the problem is overworking, whether the problem is not spending enough time with your family or friends. That goes into anxiety. And if you keep going, you don't treat the problem.
All emotions are linked, aren't they? So they will spiral out of control if you don't keep them in check. Yeah. And it's all about taking care of yourself ultimately at the end of the day, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. Then that will lead on to something more major like depression or just giving up. And we don't want to give up. No. We want to keep going. We want to keep getting better and nurture our family to the best they can, so that inshallah they can be better than us. They can look up to us and be better than us, because that's the ultimate goal.
That's our wish for them, isn't it?
Yeah. But ultimately, motherhood is the hardest thing I've ever loved. What do you think?
That's a great way of putting it. Yes, definitely, Raghad.
Yeah.
It's the hardest job, but it's the most worthwhile, I would say.
Yeah, it's the one job you actually love from all your heart, isn't it? Because, you know, like we were saying, it's going to work or having a job that you don't like is, you know...
And it's quite strange, because you're in this role as a mum. You can't ever stop being a mum, but at work, you can stop being that colleague, you can stop being that employee. You know, you can shut down. But even when you're at work, you're still that mum. You're still having those feelings and thinking about your kids all the time. I mean, I talk about my kids non-stop at work. I drive people crazy, but yeah, it's quite interesting.
So do you think that the fact that you said that, does it make us selfish that we've gone to work? I kind of feel when I go to work, I am still a mum, but I kind of shut off. That's that time for me to be a non-mum.
It's not. It's a different kind of selfish, if that makes sense. You're doing it for yourself, but you need to do it for yourself to be a better mum.
Okay, yeah, that's a really good way of putting it. Because as a mum, we need to do something for ourselves to become better, because we're happier inside. Yeah. And we're fulfilled. Yeah. That's the most important thing.
100%.
So do you think that'll be a good way to end the show, with the quote of "Motherhood is the hardest job I've ever loved"?
Yes, that's perfect. We'll see you all next time at Mums at Work.
Ma salama.